Let's give a round of applause for her, please. Thank you. What a fun movie.
Thank you.
I really enjoy it. You know, and it's so contagious, you know? I mean, just the music, there's something about it that just gets you up and starts, you know, makes you want to clap and stomp your feet. And tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into gospel music.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Angela Kent, as you saw in the movie. My mom said that I've been singing since the age of 3. I can't remember that far, but she said that I was in the car seat, and I don't, you know, you think, sure they made car seats at that, you know, way back then? But she said I was in the car seat, and a song came on the radio, and her sister, my aunt, was in the car, and I was in the back seat. And she began to sing the song with the song on the radio station. And when the song went off, my mom was still singing it, and little did she knew that I, at 3 years old, would catch the background to the song. So I caught the background and was singing it while my mother was singing lead. And my aunt said, no way. She looked back and said, no way, she can't be singing that. She's too little to be singing. So that's where I started. However, I remember being 5, standing in church singing, and they had to stand me up on the money table because I was so short and people could not see me. And I was never was afraid to sing in church or at an outdoor event. It didn't matter. It came really natural to me. My mom was a singer in the Carolinas and down east. We were from Wilson, North Carolina. So my mom had been singing all her life. So I guess it was kind of instilled in our family. Our family sang. My sister is here. It's 13 years difference between my sister and I, but we used to sing as a family. My sister and I, my 2 brothers, and my parents.
Okay. And
we were the Smith family, so we sang for a lot of years at a lot of events. So music and singing has been a part of me all my life. That's pretty much all I've known all of my life, and I thought, well, since I sing and God talented me and gave me a gift of playing music, so I do play. I'm a minister of music at a local church in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I thought, well, I might as well go to school for music. So I furthered my education and went on to school for music.
Oh, great. And so, you know, I mean, there's this argument with kids. It's like the nurture versus nature argument, you know, where it's like some things are, you know, kids take to it because they're exposed to it. Other kids just naturally come out and they just are into something regardless of their surroundings. You know, lots of times, quite often, you have children also who will, like if you mentioned your mom was a singer, your father was a singer, everybody's singing. You know, a lot of times younger people will rebel against whatever their parents do, you know, like, oh, I don't want to do anything like that, you know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
So I'm curious because, you know, being a musician, you know, you're an artist, there has to be that inspiration there. There has to be that thing that fuels you more than just, oh, my family sings and stuff, you know, like talk a little bit about that inspiration and like what is it that fuels your art?
My mom was my idol. She passed in 2016. My father passed in 2015, so there was like 6 months difference. And I think music at that time and her being my idol just really got me through that particular time. But as I said, I've been singing all my life, and my mom was someone that I idolized. You know, I always wanted to sing with, you know, the big boys, you know, so to speak. So I was granted that opportunity. I've sang with Shirley Caesar in the workshop choir. I've sang with John P. Key. I've sang with the late Reverend James Cleveland and been in the music workshop choirs and different things all around the country. And it was just in me. It was not something that I ever rebelled of, because I loved it and I desired it and I could hear music. as I say, I started out very young, was able to start playing for churches at the age of 8 years old because I could hear the music in my ear and I could hear the chords. And a lot of times we'd go to anniversaries and my mom, they would say, is there a musician in the house? We don't have one. And my mom would be hunching me and I'd be like, I don't want to go up there, And she would like, you going up there, who could tell my mama no? Because back then, if we talk back, we would get popped in the mouth or something. So I had to go, So I was like, it was a challenge to go and to listen and to hear it. And if I really heard it deep well enough, I would start playing it. So I would actually start playing what I would hear them singing. And so it was just something that was instilled in me. I grew up in church all my life as a little girl. So it was something that I wanted to do. I felt it, just wanting to do it. My father had a friend that came over years ago when I was a little girl, and I wasn't even playing at that time, and I was probably had just gotten my first piano like right after the age of 6. And he sat down and played, and I was hearing it. And I was like, would you just get up? Stop playing. Stop. Just go by so I can get to the piano because I hear it and I don't want to lose what I hear, So I was just so anxious and he finally got up after hours and I was able to sit down and play exactly what he played. So it's just been an inspiration to me all my life. It's something that I love and I hold dear to my heart.
Wow. And talk a little bit about your selection of music that you choose to sing. Like, how do you choose the songs that you sing? What is it that, like, what is it about a song that makes you go, okay, that's the song I want to do? Do you write anything, or is it?
I do write some music. I've written a lot of music, that is going to be coming out hopefully within the next year.
Okay.
I'm going to pull it out and let Matt and DL and Phil Cook that you saw in the film kind of handle it and do what they need to do with it. But when I'm choosing a selection to sing, in the same thing with Mother Perry, when we are invited to sing and we may practice on something, but the list more than likely will change to some extent when we get in the room, in the church, in the theater, in the outdoor, in the parking lot, because when COVID was so prevalent, a lot of churches, everybody closed up and they were having services outside on the lawns and the parking lots. And even then, we felt the atmosphere. What do the people need to hear? What was the vibe in the church, or what was the vibe in the room, And we kind of drawed our inspiration, to a higher power, okay, we need you to tell us what it is that we need to release, that someone can get delivered, someone can get touched, someone can get inspired, someone may be going through, because everybody is going through something, whether they tell you or not. So, something that can just touch someone's heart to help them to get through a trying time or a death or whatever it is. So we consult our higher power on that, and I still do. Mother Perry and I, we still do that on a continuous basis. I do that when I'm asked to sing somewhere. I always when I walk in the room, if there are people there, I'm like, okay, God, here I am. I didn't bring anything with me to sing. I didn't write anything down. I'm saying this in my head and I'm having a silent conversation with God. I'm like, okay, I need you. And sometime I may not get it until they call my name and I walk up on the stage. And once I sit down to the piano, I've gotten to that point, and when I'm walking, I'm like, okay, God, now this is really close. You need to come on and let me know, because I don't know what it is I'm going to sing, but by the time I sit down and I say a little prayer in my head, there is something that embraces my heart to give to the people.
Oh, that's interesting. And so let's talk a little bit about Mother Perry. So how did you, tell us a little bit about how you met and how did that coming together occur?
Mother Perry, I call her my mom, my God mom. I don't always say God mom, and you might have heard me say sing mom in the film because that's what she is to me, is my mom. I took her to be my mom after my mom passed, my physical mom passed. And I met her at a gospel singing. Quite a few people were there, probably, I don't know, maybe 150 people. And when I heard her and Miss Ethel May and Wilbur, I probably had to try to pick my mouth up off the floor. I mean, that's how intense and how powerful it was. And I thought, I can sing with them. I can play for that lady. I know that I can. I was like, but she doesn't need a musician and she doesn't need a singer. But I said, I can still sing with her. So one day I'm going to sing with her. So I always say you have to be careful what you speak out of your mouth, because you can speak positive, you can speak negative things out of your mouth. How little did I know that I would be where I am today with my mom. After that, I followed them. I began to follow them and asked her for her schedule for their, because they travel. They went to different places, different churches. And I started following them. And I still kept saying, man, I could sing with that lady if she just ever asked me to sing. So one weekend, I really didn't. I wasn't booked for that particular weekend. And I kind of had a free weekend. And I got a phone call. And it was Mom. And she said, Angela, she said, are you busy this weekend? I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. And I was like, yes. She hadn't even asked me, and I was saying yes, you know. And she said, well, we've had an emergency. Wilbur at that time had a house fire, and he had to jump from a second floor of his house, and he got injured. And she said, and the anniversary is this weekend. Now, this was Friday, and the anniversary is Saturday and Sunday. It was 2 days. So I had no time to really prepare. And she said, can you play this? Can you play that? Have you heard this? Have you heard? And I said yes to everything, because I was like, this is my one shot, and I won't mess that up, to play for Mother Perry. And I sang with her on that particular anniversary, played the music along with her. And from that time forward, I continued until Wilbur was well enough to come back. And when he came back to continue to play, I never left as a background singer, and I continued to sing background with the two of them.
That's great. And, you know, anybody with ears can tell Mother Perry is just phenomenal singer.
Yes.
But I'm curious, from somebody who is, has such a story background as yours when it comes to gospel singing, tell us a little bit about what makes her such a good gospel singer.
I believe what makes Mother Perry such a good gospel singer is she lives what she sings. There is not a song that she sings that she doesn't live, and it is not her testimony. Every song to her has a testimony that she can tell you about. And she loves people. She's a people person. She never meets a stranger. She can talk to them. They will ask her to pray. After seeing the movie, people have asked her to pray for them. And not just after the movie, but even prior to us even ever doing a documentary or film about her. She prayed for people that she didn't know. And it just makes her that phenomenal woman with a phenomenal big voice.
Yeah, so much power. And I mean, I've never met her, but she seems like very small frame.
She is.
And so there's a lot of power there, you know.
Packed in that body, yes.
Yeah. That's funny. Speaking of like first time meetings, maybe you can shine a little bit of light on when Mother Mary met Phil Cook for the first time. What did she make of him? Because he's kind of an eccentric kind of guy, and kind of came out of nowhere, it seems like.
Phil is witty and, funny. He's like a different breed of person, but he's sweet, he's humble, he's loving. And when they met, it was just like, oh my God. It came together. It was just something a relationship that just formed immediately. he was able to, like as he said, he was taking directions from her when he got up on the stage. He didn't really know the song, but she was pointing and telling him when to come in, and he came in. And so from that point, they just formed a relationship like a son and a mom, because he's that close to her. When he says, I love it when he says in the film that you can feel this. You can feel this film. You can, it's moving. You want to be just right there at it. He loves mom so much. They have a relationship that is just as close as mine or closer. And he's my brother. I love him. He's played with me and accompanied me on several occasions. They just have a wonderful. It's just like she birthed him. It's like she was a surrogate or something. But
the idea of like souls, right?
Yeah.
They're just like two souls that came together.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. And speaking of I would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to talk a little bit about Wilbur.
Yes.
And I mean, such a friendly and lovable guy. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like to know him.
Oh my God, Wilbur was phenomenal. He was the most phenomenal musician, pianist I've ever met on this face of the earth. There will never be another one. We called him the Liberace, because he was just that phenomenal. He could play any type of music. It didn't matter what it was. It could be bluegrass. It could be country. Anything. It could be folk. He played it. It was jazz. It was smooth jazz. I mean, he would just like your skin would just start, when he start playing. He was such a phenomenal guy. I shed tears every time I see the documentary, because I miss him, and I miss that touch, just to hear the keys, just to see him and interact with him. He was a loving person, didn't meet a stranger. He was happy. I'd never seen him sad or wearied about anything. Music was his life. He enjoyed what he did. And he made the comment in the film that he saw pianos in his sleep. And he really, really loved piano. He knew everything about a piano. He knew everything about music. And you could ask him who sang this particular song or who was a composer, and he could tell you. I mean, he was very, very deep into it. We miss him. During COVID, Wilbur passed. He did not pass from COVID, but he had a fall apparently in his home. And we were just... I can't even, the words, we miss him. It was just so heartbreaking to lose him, because he felt like a brother to me, and he felt like a son to Mom Perry, because she had known him probably over 60 years, and he had been with her for about 60 years or longer. So when you're with someone like that, it's just a tight-knit relationship. And if he is God's timing, that I must say. We shot the film, and then COVID came, and it was like at a standstill. And DL and Matt decided, we need to move forward with it. And in moving forward with it, Wilbur passed, so he never was able to see any of the film. He did hear some of the music, but he never did get the chance to see any of the film. So when we see it, we always kind of, we shed a tear here and there. You hear that laughter of his. He had that boisterous voice, and when he laughed, it made everybody in the room laugh. And so we really do miss that about him.
The beautiful thing is that because he participated in this documentary, it's sort of like he's going to live on.
And
he will live on in this documentary.
Yes.
For years to come. People will be able to meet him and get to know him. I mean, I just found him so affable and just, wonderful guy.
He is.
Considering his age and Mother Perry's age and everything, one thing that stands out to me is that, gospel music, choir music, it really requires teamwork, right? Yes. It requires, because it's like the lead singer can't do it alone, and the background singers can't do it alone. And so I'm wondering, what is it like to be part of an established gospel group, the Branchettes, but with people of a different generation? Mother Perry seems to be quite assertive, in what she thinks. So like what, I'm sure that there's a little bit of a different approach, maybe different take on it. So what is the dynamic there like?
Well, Mother Perry loves hymns, and unless you come from that type of background or have that type of background at church, or you're familiar, then you would be unfamiliar with hymns. That's one of her favorites, and a lot of our generation now, they don't know what hymns are. They never heard of a hymn, or sometimes they will say to us, I remember my grandmother used to sing that way back, but I haven't heard it in years, So when they, saw and listened to our music, they was just like taken back to their childhood, to their upbringing, things that they have not heard in years and years, songs that they have not heard on the CD. There are several hymns that are on the CD that are not on the documentary. So it is a variation of songs, mostly hymns, and then there are a few little contemporary pieces with a little twist to them, but mostly hymns.
And do you ever, I doubt you ever butt heads, but do you ever have any disagreements like, I don't know if this is the right song to go, or is it just if she's laying down the song, you're singing it?
If mom lays down the song and if she say, well, that's what I want to sing, because there is one song that we sing every time we go, she said, now you know what my favorite song is? And I'm like, yes ma'am, I know what it is. I don't care what else we have on that list. She said, you know what my favorite is? I'm like, yes ma'am. Okay. So, I know
who the boss is.
I know who the boss is, and I respect that. I don't go over that. I love her. I grew up where we were taught, my sister and I were taught to respect our elders and give honor to our elders. And I still do that to this day with my mom. And I respect her enough that if she pops me in the mouth, hey, okay. She just pops me in the mouth. I got out of line.
And there's reason for that, right? Because there's wisdom there. There's experience, there's wisdom. Yes. And I'm curious what, because she seems to be full of just experience and wisdom, and I'm wondering what piece of advice or lesson that have you learned from her that maybe we didn't catch from a documentary, but like just in your personal life, being with her all the time, like what was is there anything that stands out?
It's kind of funny that you say that, but I still have to resort back to the title of this documentary, Stay Prayed Up. She's always been a prayer warrior. She's always prayed. And for me, I think I met her when there was a time in my life that I didn't pray as much as I should have, or that I could have prayed. And I was going through something, and with the loss of my mom, she just embraced me and said, Angela, you have to pray. We didn't know anything at that time about Stay Prayed Up because God had not revealed that to us as a group. But God had revealed it to her, Mother Perry. Her mother told her to keep yourself prayed up. And in thinking about what she wanted to entitle the documentary, she had some titles. She had written maybe 4 or 5 of them down. She showed them to me one day. She said, these are the choices. And I said, wow, all of them were powerful. But this one stood out beyond all of the other ones, because somewhere in someone's life, we hope that you will seek a higher power, whatever that higher power is. Maybe God. You don't have to believe in God to seek a higher power, but something can be said or sang in this documentary that it will touch someone in such a way that they will feel differently about themselves.
And staying centered,
Yes.
you know, and true to yourself.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And she definitely embodied that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm curious also, and then I'm going to open it up if anybody has a question. But you know, what seems to be next for the Branchettes? Is there going to be any more albums? Is there going to be a tour kind of thing, or more traveling, or?
I'm sure we're not done. There's an old song that James Cleveland wrote, "Please be patient with me because God is not through with me yet." So the Branchettes are not through. We're not done. We're not finished. We still attend anniversaries. We still sing on anniversaries. We still sing on events. We have one on this coming up weekend in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm sure that we will continue until God says that's enough. And I believe Mother Perry mentioned that when he says that's enough, then that will be the end of the Branchettes.
But there will be something else that will come after.
There will be something that will come after. We've toured a lot. We did a lot of tours. We started out at the film festival in Telluride, Colorado last year. So we've attended several film festivals. We've gone from Colorado to Wisconsin, to West Virginia, to New York. So we've been several places showing this documentary. It's been quite a success. Never knew that this is where, or this is how our higher power would take it, and would bring it forth into fruition. But we are so thankful that we waited, we stayed patient. We go to events, it doesn't matter how small they are, or how large they are. It doesn't matter. What matters is the message that we give while we're there.
That's great. Does anybody have any question or anything they'd like to put out there?
Great movie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
a
let's.
little comment, which to me, there's a sense of connectivity when you're in a place where people are singing and they're singing gospel music. It's an incredible ceremony of connection, energy, and,
Yes.
and it's a beautiful healing thing. So just thank you for what you do.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And you're going to continue, or are we your last stop for the?
This is the last stop.
Okay, all right. Well,
Southern
I'm sure the
Circuit
film
tour.
is going to continue on. I know it's going to be distributed around nationally.
Yes.
And so that anybody who's watching, because we're recording this for our YouTube page, to be sure to check it out. We'll have a link posted below.
Yes, it's on iTunes, also on Amazon and Netflix. You can download that. It is a paid. You do have to pay for it, but you can watch it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank
Let's
you.
give another round of applause.
Great to meet you. Thank you. Yes.